There is nothing on earth that hurts like losing someone you love due to death, divorce, or separation. Similar feelings often surface after a major life change, such as a job loss or a move. The ache inside can feel as if your soul will crush under the weight of deep, paralyzing sorrow. You may find yourself asking how a loving God could allow such a painful thing to happen. The dull sadness often bleeds into denial or anger. Grief is unpredictable, affecting each of us in slightly different ways. While it may not ease the pain, understanding that grief is normal can help us cope a little better when we lose a special person or go through a significant change. Well, I truly understand you. And that's why I made this video specifically just for you. If you stick with me from now henceforth until the end of the video, I will actually take you through the 5 stages of grief and also give bonus content if you stick with me further, which will be of much help as well. The first stage of grieving is usually denial. Grief is an overwhelming emotion. It's not unusual to respond to strong and often sudden feelings by pretending the loss or change isn't happening. The fact that you are denying it gives you time to absorb the news and begin to process it. This is a common defense mechanism and helps numb you to the intensity of the situation. As you move out of the denial stage, however, the emotions you've been hiding will begin to rise. You'll be confronted with a lot of sorrow you've denied. That is also part of the journey of grief, but it can be difficult. The second stage of grieving is usually anger. Even though denial may be considered a coping mechanism, anger is usually a masking effect. Anger is hiding many of the emotions and pain that you carry. The anger may be redirected at other people, such as the person who died, your ex, or your boss. You may even aim your anger at inanimate objects. While your rational brain knows the object of your anger isn't to blame, your feelings at that moment are too intense to act according to that. Anger may mask itself in feelings like bitterness or resentment. It may not be clear-cut fury or rage. Not everyone will experience this stage of grief. Others may linger here. As the anger subsides, however, you may begin to think more rationally about what's happening and feel the emotions you've been pushing aside. The third stage of grieving is usually bargaining. During grief, you may feel vulnerable and helpless. In those moments of intense emotions, it's not uncommon to look for ways to regain control or to want to feel like you can affect the outcome of an event. In the bargaining stage of grief, you may find yourself creating a lot of what if and if only statements. It's also not uncommon for religious individuals to try to make a deal or promise to God or a higher power in return for healing or relief from grief and pain. Bargaining is a line of defense against the emotions of grief. It helps you postpone the sadness, confusion, or hurt. The fourth stage of grieving is usually depression. Whereas anger and bargaining can feel very active, depression may feel like a quiet stage of grief. In the early stages of loss, you may be running from the emotions, trying to stay a step ahead of them. By this point, however, you may be able to embrace and work through them in a more healthful manner. You may also choose to isolate yourself from others in order to fully cope with the loss. That doesn't mean, however, that depression is easy or well-defined. Like the other stages of grief, depression can be difficult and messy. It can feel overwhelming. You may feel foggy, heavy, and confused. Depression may feel like the inevitable landing point of any loss. However, if you feel stuck here or can't seem to move past this stage of grief, you can talk with a mental health expert. A therapist can help you work through this period of coping. The fifth stage of grieving is usually accepted. Acceptance is not necessarily a happy or uplifting stage of grief. It doesn't mean you've moved past the grief or loss. It does, however, mean that you've accepted it and have come to understand what it means in your life now. You may feel very different in this stage. That's entirely expected. You've had a major change in your life, and that upends the way you feel about many things. Look to acceptance as a way to see that there may be more good days than bad. There may still be bad, and that's okay. It is now the right time to deliver the bonus content, just like I had promised earlier. The bonus content is simply the ways and means that you are supposed to follow in order to overcome this state of grief. The pain of grief can make you separate yourself and be in a lonely state where there is an absence of people around you. But sincerely speaking, having support from other people is very important in the healing process from grief. This is because when you express your feelings to others, they will understand you and find a way to help you. But be aware that it is not everyone to whom you are supposed to explain your feelings to. The first way that will enable you to overcome grief is by using your friends and family members, since they are the closest people in your life and also the people with whom you are much more comfortable speaking when you encounter any difficulties in your life. It is much better if you express your feelings only to those who care about you and they are ready to support you every step of the way. Go ahead and tell them what you need, whether it's a shoulder to cry on, a listening ear, or just someone to hang out with, since a problem shared is actually half solved. In some instances, the grieving process can be an awkward feeling for some people to whom you express your feelings, especially if they have never been in that situation in their lives. Hence, they may feel unsure about how to comfort you and end up saying or doing the wrong things. But don't let this be an excuse that you will not associate with other people and decide to isolate yourself from others. You need to understand that whether they have gone through the same situation or not, their presence in your grieving process means that they care about you. The second way to get rid of grief in your life is by obtaining comfort from faith. In case you are in a certain religion, then take the advantage of the spiritual activities that are meaningful to you, such as praying, meditating, or going to church, that can offer solace. The third way you can use to overcome grief is by being a member of a support group. When you are grieving and being comforted by people who have never experienced that tough condition you are going through, it can bring loneliness to you. That is why I mainly suggest joining a support group, since it contains people who have gone through the same condition you have been through and they can truly understand what you are going through. And in order to find a bereavement support group in your area, contact the local hospitals, hospices, funeral homes, and counseling centers that are existing in your area. The fourth way you can use to overcome grief is by talking to a therapist or a grief counselor. In case you find that your grieving is a very heavy burden that you cannot bear on your own, then seek a grief counselor who is well experienced from a mental health professional hospital. An experienced therapist can help you work through intense emotions and overcome obstacles to your grieving. The fifth way you can use to get rid of grief in your life is to beware of how you use social media. Social media can be a helpful tool to let others know about your loss, and you can also use it to reach out for support. However, it can also attract internet trolls who post inappropriate, insensitive, or even abusive messages. In order to avoid this kind of situation, which can bring more pain and heartache, you may want to limit your social media use to closed groups rather than public postings that anyone can comment on. Well, my beloved viewers, we have come up to the end of the video, and I'm very grateful for the fact that you made it all through up to this point. If you found this video helpful, then don't forget to give it a like, and in case you are new to this channel, I mainly talk about entrepreneurship, business, sales and marketing, life skills, and self-help. If you are interested in any of these topics, please click the subscribe button and join this community. As for now, goodbye.